while. Welcome to my tire shop. You like that? Just, you know me. I'm always on the hunt to find the absolute best product that works for me personally. And this is the result. We got 40s, 37s, Kyle stock Sequoia stuff, old Raptor 37s, Subaru 31. It's been way too long. We've had, I think, 2 Overland Expos since the last update, and that was on the Scout. So I wanted to kind of run through, get a little bit more granular on kind of where we're at with that and what actually was done. Because it was more of like, hey, I'm dropping the Scout off and then picked it up. Didn't really gotta run you through and show you guys kind of what has been done and like what's been handled on the sheet metal side, and kind of just give you an update on where we're at. We're like a little less than 3 months out from Sema, so I have no idea how far we're gonna get on this, because raw materials, supply chain, I mean, I don't have half the parts. Literally, I have less than half. I have a cab and a roller right now, and that's it. So let's get into it. There's a lot to unpack here. If you guys have been following along, this thing used to have a travel top, which basically made it a two-door SUV, and now it looks like a mini truck. That's because I found that Scout 2 steel hardtop. I've been looking for that ever since I've seen one, and they're not very common. They're kind of rare. I wouldn't say they're like the most rare thing, but it essentially takes your Scout 2 from a full hardtop with a hatch tailgate and turns it into a single cab mini truck. So I found this thing I don't really shop on Craigslist a ton. Marketplace has been a lot better. And I was just browsing on there and saw no pictures. First of all, there was no pictures on this post, and it just said Scout 2 hardtop, steel, good condition, no dents, no dings, no rust. And I was like, okay. Shoot the guy an email. Long story short, it was in Tucson, Arizona. I decided, yo, I need this thing. Call the dude. He says it's legit, sends me pictures. We work out a price, and I just couldn't pass it up. 1, I love the way it looks. 2, like I said, it's super rare. 3, it saves me a ton of time. So because we're like less than 3 months out from getting this thing to Sema, I would have had to do a full interior, find interior panels, a full headliner. There's still some work to be done on the rear hatch. This turns it into, all I have to do is figure out a bulkhead. Obviously there's a few little dents in here that they're not like too bad. There's no rust repair to be done to it. So all I have to do is basically dial in the bed here and treat it like a truck bed. So this isn't permanent, but I'm actually, the more and more that it's been on the truck, I've been really, really stoked on the way it's looking. The proportions are kind of ridiculous. It's so short and stubby.
That's what she said?
And on 37s. And that's where we'll get into the next thing. So yeah, right now it's got a half cab, steel half cab. I still have the travel top. I'm not getting rid of that. I do want to have the option to go full travel top or half cab. But let's get into kind of what was done here and like what still is, as we go through it, what still needs to be done before this thing moves on to its next stage. All right, so as you can see, the whole cab has been sandblasted. That was an important part. I didn't really want to spend the money to do that, but Jimmy was like, you know what, you gotta do it. This is the foundation of where we're starting the build. Everything you do to it basically is, you know, sitting on top of this thing. So we need to see what's what. So cab's in really good shape. And where we started was basically, I wanted to get the floor pans in, cab mounts, wedges, any cross members that needed work, which was basically all of them. Cab mounts were gone, wedges were gone, Cross member on that side on the floorboard was gone. There was holes in each side near the body mounts because everything just rotted through. And the big thing was the rockers. When I bought this thing, it looked like just rockers needed to be replaced, and inner rockers looked pretty good. So right here, brand new rockers. Here's a new dog leg. Here's the stock dog leg. So I still have to weld that in. I kind of like trying to keep, because I'm just a car builder, this is what I do. But I think it's best to try to keep all the factory stuff. Everything fits well. So I'm trying to get this thing to fit after it's been drilled out, cut out, to fit back in. If not, anything Scout has just a ton of sheet metal parts. So I actually picked up a new dog leg if I need to get it in there and fit it up if the original one doesn't fit. But what I've done since I got it back from Jimmy is basically a budget. It exists here. This was way over. I'm way in deeper than I thought it would be, and that's okay. I'm in it now. So originally I wanted to fix cab mounts, rockers, wedges, and I wanted to widen the fenders and stretch them. So what I did was basically say, Jimmy, you're killing it. I wish I could afford to have you finish all this stuff, but I need to get this thing back, and also I need to do what I can to save money. Those guys killed it and pushed me super hard to do everything right. I want to talk to you about the fenders next, because that was where this whole thing started. I had this idea of I wanted to keep the truck as low as possible on a big tire, kind of how AEV does their trucks, 2.5 inch lift on 40s. I wanted to take that, exercise a little bit more restraint there, and keep it looking to the untrained eye, oh, that looks really good. And then people that have seen Scouts realize that those things barely fit 29. So let me show you the fenders and how these guys freaking killed it and brought exactly what I had in my brain to life. So let's get to it. Here's a little bit of, I would say this is the bane of my existence when it comes to this build. Before we get into the fenders, I wanted to show you, so ideally I would replace this whole floor pan. It's pretty good up until these little spots you see here. But then as I started to uncover a lot of this stuff, got it back, I realized that the previous owner just basically bedlined over rust. So here, these corners, this lip right here, this lip is supposed to go corner to corner. So basically this is a seal lip. So this is a tough one for me because I'm struggling with how to attack this. If I wanna, it's a lot of work to get this whole floor pan out, and it's just a ton of time. So I think I'm gonna go for cutting these pieces out and patching them, welding in a new lip, fixing these up. Because another thing with the replacement floor pans, you see these ribs in here. So I think there's 11 here. If I remember how I counted it, I could just count them, but well, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. 11, the replacements only have 7. So even if I did a half pan, the ribs on the bed wouldn't line up. So this is the biggest project for me before we move forward. And if I decide we're gonna paint it or not, or what's gonna happen, we'll just see where we go. So I wanted to show you that kind of, instead of going back to it, that's kind of where we're at. But look at these fenders, man. These are actually stretched about 2.5, 3 inches, opened up, and then each side is radiused out. So the goal here, like I said, was to keep it looking to the untrained eye that it obviously maybe has been modified. If you've seen a Scout before, these things, this is tightened in, so basically this much, that's closed off, and then this side of the fender literally went straight down, vertical. So the tire, when you look at somebody putting a tire on there, you see Scouts, they're at a 6-inch lift with a body lift, or they are just completely cut out. So either the fender is completely cut out, or it's really jacked up, and it always just looks wrong to me. It just looks weird because you can't get it low enough and get a big enough tire in there. So what they did was sectioned it out, opened up, and tried to keep basically the shape of the front fender, speaking that same language back to the rear fender. And the idea was to keep it so if we absolutely had to, we could take it to the show in bare metal and it would all be metal. No Bondo, no glassed in flares or anything like that, which I think I had a lot of ideas on how to like, I wanted the fenders to like be really wide and look very like merging genres of like cars. So big wide body, like, but also off-road. And I think I'm really happy with the way these turned out. So they look factory to people that don't know, but they are definitely not. I mean, this whole section right here was drafted in, and then everything was finish welded, and the relief lip here is all there. The inner fender is still all there. There's a little patch here that I have to do because instead of cutting into the bed sides, just cut an access to basically be able to dolly this back out and smooth it out and get it as good as possible without having, you know, mud and paint on top of it. All right, so as you can see, front fender, same kind of concept. Widened it so you can faintly see these lines right here. This is how much it was stretched out, and then brought that radius back, so it's all very cohesive and flows really well. The other thing is I wanted it to, one, be able to stuff the tire and be able to go to full lock. So I wanted it to be usable. I didn't want it to just look good. I wanted it to actually work good too. So we carried that all the way to the front here, and I just have this tube here. But this is all welded in factory. So that lower grill fascia portion, this black part, that was actually shortened, and the whole bottom was basically just welded back into it. So everything just looks as it should. So I was fitting up one of the grills to kind of see how everything was lining up with the fenders, mocking it up to make sure there wasn't any fabrication or any basically mods that need to be done to make everything fit, because once you paint it, it's going to be even worse to get back together. So I'm talking about here is, you know, just making sure all these gaps and body lines line up. So I just got it mocked up kind of. And then also just taking an account for like all the hardware that I want to try to source that is, you know, factory and also just easy to do. So some of the hardware and like long nuts are designed to basically help you install this stuff and remove this stuff easier. Also, I just don't want it to be all out of place. Another big thing, like the 4-pan back there, is this windshield frame. So once we sandblasted the whole cab, you can see up there in that corner, you got some rot there, up along the top lip, and then in this very corner is very, very light. So really those two pieces right there are two big hurdles that we're gonna have to overcome before this thing ever gets painted. So that might be a reason why it doesn't get painted in the next couple months. Still haven't decided a paint color. Really excited about what's happening in this engine bay. And in the next update, we'll be showing you the rear end that's going in this thing. So I'm really amped about that. My Dana 44 that's going in this is a 1980. It's got better caster. It's pretty much the best setup you can do for this on leaf springs and do that, unless you replace the axle completely, change the geometry of the suspension and all that. I don't have that in the truck, so I'm gonna have to kind of estimate the closest stroke length for the Ram Assist cylinder. So I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that is adding up that turns into like a big stress ball. But I didn't think that we would be to this stage or even close to it anytime soon. I thought this was gonna take me 5-10 years to get this thing rolling. But as you can see, you know, we got it going, at least. I don't know how far we're gonna get by November, but I'm pretty stoked. And I just wanted to key you guys in. I've actually just gotten a lot of questions on it and like, what's the deal? And like I said, Expo season, I do have other things going on besides this. This is like my first real build, like ground up build, vintage 4x4. It's not, you know, just buying parts and cutting stuff with cut off wheels. this is like a real thing to me, and I'm stoked to have the few partners that I do that are helping me along. I get a lot of questions on these wheels, and these are actually probably the raddest beadlocks on the market. These are KMC KM444s, a forged beadlock that I had polished. They come in machined with a machined ring. So I've been kind of leaning towards this very kind of tasteful, subtle look of a machine with a black lip. Typically I like the all machine, but I like adding that black ring. Just gives it a little bit more of a meatball tire effect. And with the new Milestar Patagonia XT 371250. So I'm super stoked on these. I have these on the Raptor. So I wanted to get a set for this. I think it's this is gonna be an off-road truck. It's gonna be a daily driver. So I wanted a capable wheel setup. So wanted a beadlock still, but this beadlock is sub 30 pounds. I wanted a really good driving tire on the road. So this is kind of the setup. The reason why I did wheels and tires first was like the first thing was because I wanted to keep my motivation and vision going with this stuff. And I kind of wanted to build around the aesthetic of where I started with the other builds. This is kind of like the recipe for wheels, and I was super stoked when I tried these tires. I was super happy with the way they handle off-road, and on-road they're just basically like a stock radial, so quiet, very, very nice tire. So I wanted to kind of build off that and take that as I want the whole truck to feel this way. So let's give myself a centerpiece to work off of, and here we are. So thanks to Jimmy Shine, Shine Speed Shop, Magful, like I said, KMC, and we have some new goodies coming for it that I'm super stoked on. So I'm struggling with lighting, thinking about lighting. I didn't want to go crazy on this thing. So drop any of your lighting recommendations in the comments below, or any feedback or what you think. Obviously, we love to hear from you. If you think somebody else will like this video, be sure to share it. I would appreciate it. It keeps us motivated on doing it, because honestly, trying to do this kind of stuff, learn and grow as a person when it comes to this thing on such a special build for me personally, and get these videos out, it's really hard to do. So having a little bit of support just by a thumbs up or a comment or sharing the video really goes a long way. It's not about money. We're literally making no money, losing money actually, because we just keep on trying to buy more stuff to make production value higher and also just easier to get these things out. So Andy's dying behind the camera right now. He's leaning up against the pallet rack, because when I get going, I get going. So if you're about getting going, you're at the right place. I'll ramble for freaking, what do you want to go, Andy? 5 more minutes? 5 more minutes just talking about nonsense?
10 more.
10 more. All right, we're done. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Here's a little scout update. I'm stoked. And we're going to try to keep these things once a week, if not bi-weekly, at least with something. So thanks again, guys. Catch you on the next one.